Darren Parker wiped the sweat from his brow, his hands trembling slightly as he flipped the open sign on the glass door of his small diner, Parker's Pastries. Nestled in a sleepy corner of Knoxville, Tennessee, the diner had been the lifeblood of Darren and his wife, Emily. For years, their pastries had drawn locals in like a warm embrace, but lately, the shop was struggling like everything else in their lives. Emily, once the vibrant soul of the diner, had been bedridden for months. Diagnosed with advanced lymphoma, she had gone from helping Darren knead dough to barely having the strength to lift a glass of water. Her treatments were draining not just her energy but also their savings. This morning, Darren received a call from Emily's nurse. "You need to come now, Darren. Her condition has worsened." He froze. His gut told him to rush to her side, but his livelihood and their medical bills demanded otherwise. If he didn't open the shop, how would they afford the next round of chemotherapy? The weight of his decision was crushing. Later that morning, as Darren went through the motions of taking orders and refilling coffee cups, the bustling chatter of regulars barely registered. His mind was on Emily, each ticking second feeling like stolen time. It was during the lunch lull, just as Darren stood behind the counter staring at a tray of cooling apple fritters, that the doorbell chimed. A man entered, a striking contrast to the locals. He wore a tailored hoodie and sneakers that seemed worth more than Darren's monthly rent. It was Ryan Lattimer, a tech tycoon known for his moonshot ideas and disruptive innovations. Ryan had come to Knoxville to scout locations for a new data facility. But in this diner, he wasn't a billionaire with a hectic schedule. He was a man craving a bite of homemade comfort. Darren greeted him as he would anyone, masking his fatigue with a faint smile. "What'll it be today?" Ryan glanced at the menu, "One coffee, and what's your favorite pastry?" Darren hesitated. His mind flitted back to Emily. Her favorite was the blueberry Danish. "The blueberry Danish," he replied softly. Ryan ordered one and took a seat, observing the atmosphere. There was a warmth in the diner, a sense of community, but also a subtle strain etched in Darren's face. When Darren brought over the coffee and Danish, Ryan struck up a conversation. "You've been here a while?" Ryan asked. "Almost 15 years, Darren said, his pride tinged with weariness. "My wife and I started this place from scratch." Ryan noticed Darren's voice falter when he mentioned his wife. "She doesn't work here with you anymore?" Darren's walls crumbled. Perhaps it was Ryan's genuine curiosity or the sheer exhaustion of carrying the burden alone. He opened up, sharing Emily's diagnosis and their struggles to keep the diner afloat. Ryan listened intently, his coffee untouched. Darren expected polite sympathy, but there was something in Ryan's gaze, understanding, and perhaps even pain. "How much would it cost to close this place for the day and go be with her?" Ryan asked. Darren blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Excuse me." Ryan leaned forward, his expression serious. "You deserve to be with your wife. Let me make that happen." Before Darren could process what was happening, Ryan stood up, pulling out a sleek black card. "How much for everything here? Every pastry, every coffee, every soda in your fridge?" Darren stammered. "That's not necessary." "I insist," Ryan interrupted. "Everyone deserves a break, Darren, especially someone like you." Darren's lips trembled as he calculated the cost. When he gave Ryan the number, the man swiped his card without hesitation. "Now," Ryan said with a gentle smile, "go home, be with your wife." The few remaining customers looked on in awe as Darren, tears streaming down his face, shook Ryan's hand. The act was so simple, yet it carried a weight that neither man could put into words. The news of Ryan's gesture spread quickly. Darren closed the diner early, rushing to Emily's side. For the first time in months, he was able to sit with her without worrying about the next shift or the mounting bills. But the story didn't end there. Inspired by Ryan's generosity, the Knoxville community rallied around the Parkers. Regular customers started a fundraiser, leaving donations at the diner. Ryan might have started it, "But this is our town," said Maggie, a retiree who'd been coming to Parker's Pastries for years. Within days, the support snowballed. A local baker volunteered to help keep the diner running. Another customer, who owned a car dealership, offered Darren free rides to the hospital. And as for Ryan, he quietly followed up with an anonymous donation to cover Emily's medical bills. Weeks later, Emily sat at one of the diner's tables, her frail hands wrapped around a mug of tea. Her treatments had begun to show promise. Darren looked at her from behind the counter, his heart full of gratitude. Their story, which began with despair, had turned into a testament to the power of kindness. Ryan's act had not only bought Darren a moment of respite, but also reminded a small town of the strength and community. As Darren rolled out dough for the morning's pastries, he smiled. They weren't just making food, they were creating hope. Parker's Pastries became a symbol of resilience and generosity, its story touching lives far beyond Knoxville. And while Ryan Lattimer returned to his world of tech and innovation, he carried with him the memory of Darren and Emily, a reminder of what truly mattered. Even in the busiest lives, there's always time for kindness.